Is Sony going to make Stargate for Amazon? Well, this is a rumour we've heard for the last couple of months that actually Amazon and Sony are negotiating some sort of big multi-year, multi-movie, multi-TV series deal. And Stargate is potentially a part of that. Now, you know, if you're a regular side tracker, that I've been talking about this a little while on the lives, but this is our first sort of update video. And I've had now 5 or 6 different people come to me and say, yes, this relationship between Amazon and Sony is getting close and there is some sort of negotiation. But let me take a step back just a second before I tell you exactly what they're negotiating, how Stargate fits into it, why Stargate fits into it, and why Amazon and Sony are having this conversation in the first place. Well, firstly, Sony's had a little bit of a financial difficulty in the last decade or so. They have lost significant money in the Sony Entertainment, and they have already had to actually sell parts of the Culver City Studios, which they own, which used to be the old MGM Studios that now Amazon own. I'm also going to mention the fact that because of Sony's difficulties, they've already actually sold a section of that studio. The animation area, which they've owned for a long time, which MGM owned before that, okay, Tom and Jerry and stuff was produced there, is now actually owned by the Hackman Group. Again, if you're a regular side tracker, you'll know that name. You'll also know that actually it's part owned by Amazon. The Hackman Group, a massive investor, is Amazon. If you don't know, the Hackman Group is actually the world's largest independent owner of studio space. Massively invested by Amazon. Now, if you go and Google Amazon's world headquarters, Amazon Prime Pictures world headquarters, and Sony Pictures headquarters, they're actually only about a 4-minute walk apart. They're both in Culver City. Amazon do have some studio space as part of their complex there as well, owned actually by the Hackman Group, who then rented out to Amazon. I've been telling you for a long time, one of the things that have been holding up a big reimagined Stargate series is the fact that Amazon don't own enough studio space of their own, and they really wanted to get away from renting studio space constantly, which costs a fortune. They want long-term deals on studio space. This is why they have the strong relationship with the Hackman Group. They actually have long-term rental deals with a company they at least partly own. So, what are they actually talking about now? Well, they were talking, Sony don't want to sell Culver City Studios, but they would be willing to rent sections of it out to Amazon on a long-term deal. That is one thing apparently they are discussing. Sony were talking about this before they started looking at Paramount, and these apparently conversations started around the time of the strikes. Sony then moved away from those conversations because they were interested in buying Paramount. When that didn't happen, they've come back and started those conversations again with Amazon. Amazon are quite happy to maybe rent out certain franchises to Sony for them to produce, because they simply don't have the capacity to do everything that they could. Things like the MGM intellectual property. MGM have loads of intellectual property. That's why Amazon spent $8.5 billion on them in the first place. But they simply don't have the capacity to make what they'd like. And thanks to the strikes, there's actually a bit of a backlog of stuff they were supposed to have made during the strikes, couldn't. So they basically lost a year. Their calendar is seriously condensed. It's a main reason why we haven't got things like Stargate at the moment, and a million other projects that they were planning to do with MGM. Apparently, though, as well, it's not just projects like Stargate that are in this conversation. Sony actually want to be involved in the next James Bond movie. And there's a couple of other things as well, including things like Forbidden Planet, which they'd be interested to make. Amazon are more than happy to do that, but it needs to be in a long-term deal. So what they want is a multi-movie, multi-year agreement, a collaboration agreement. Couple of problems with that. Sony, for one, are incredibly difficult to negotiate with, notoriously. Just ask Marvel. But Amazon do come into this in the more financially stable position, but also there is an element of, Sony, what are you actually bringing to the table other than Culver City Studios and, your production capacity? Amazon are bringing the money and the projects. Sony are just really there going, we could make it. Why does this come into Stargate though? Well, Sony have actually already had involvement in Stargate in the past. They produced at least 2 seasons of Stargate Atlantis with MGM. So they've already got that experience. It's a project and a franchise they already know. As we say, Amazon don't necessarily have the capacity to do Stargate, but Sony does. Sony also has the expertise and the people willing to do it. But what do I think about this big relationship? Well, Amazon and Sony already have a good working relationship. I think this deal, if they can get it agreed, would simply be a cementing of what's already there. I think this would work seriously for Sony, but it would actually also give Amazon a massive increase in capacity to produce more, and that's really what they want to be doing. They want to be making 3 or 4 movies a year to go straight to cinema, never mind all the stuff they then do for Freevee, Prime, etc, etc. So I think this is one of those marriage made in heaven type of situations. Sony need the money and they need the product. Amazon have got the money and they've got the product. Sony own the studio space. And for MGM, really that's just going home. Because remembering that Culver City Studios, Sony Picture Studios, are MGM's old home. So this could really work out for everybody. What do we think? Is we going to get an announcement? I am being told that this is still being negotiated. It's a difficult negotiation. It's a multi-billion-dollar negotiation. Don't expect necessarily anything too quickly. And also, they're going to want to announce this deal. They're going to then want to announce several projects very quickly to sort of get a bit of momentum going. So they're going to want to go, hey, look, we've got this great new deal. Sony, loads of money. And Amazon, we got loads of projects, blah, blah, blah. And we're going to do Bond, and we're going to do Stargate, we're going to do things. And that'll be sort of a big announcement. Maybe it's something like San Diego Comic-Con, you never know. But first of all, they've got to get the business stuff out of the way. Let's see what happens. But guys, get into the comments and tell me what you think. Is this a project idea that you're excited by? Or is this maybe just one more, maybe. Because we've been waiting for Stargate a long time and it has been dragging. I was told a year ago Skydance were very interested in Stargate and Amazon were talking to them. That sort of went away when Skydance started talking about buying Paramount, and I heard another production company came in. We never heard who that was. I'm now thinking it's Sony. But we've had delay after delay after delay. So what do you think? Is the delay after delay after delay for business reasons? Amazon are in no rush to do it. They'll get it done when they can. And actually, this is maybe something Sony are more interested in they are. Or is this, just more smoke and no fire? Get into the comments and tell me exactly what you think. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. It really helps us out. And I will see you next time.